This press break video is going to focus on the diamond press and what you need to do to defeat it consistently. And the 3 letters you have to remember are S-M-B. So welcome back to the film room. Let's get into it. For starters, let's clarify what I mean when I say a diamond press. I am referring to a press where there's a man on the ball, 2 wings, and a safety who's back. In this situation, you're almost always going to get a trap on the first pass. The safety is going to roam and try and make a play, and the backside wing is going to either be in what I refer to as strong or weak coverage, and identifying that is going to be the most important part of breaking the diamond press. But the million-dollar question that you're asking is, what does SMB stand for? And it stands for the 3 positions on the court that you must occupy: sideline, middle, and back. And getting to these 3 spots guarantees that somebody will be open. In this clip, here is the back man for Duke. The inbounder cuts through to be sideline, and the middleman is right here. The only thing I don't like about this clip is that he never flashed to the basketball, and I'm gonna explain why that could be a problem when you don't. Now we need to discuss the difference between a strong and a weak press. Most of the action is going to take place with these 3 players, and the man guarding the ball usually will try and force the inbounder to pass it somewhere in this trapping area. Once the ball gets thrown in, the man who is on the backside has a decision to make. He can either be strong or weak. And the reason I use those 2 terms is because we need to know whether he's taking away the inbounder or not. In our philosophy, strong means he is trying to take away the inbounder, and that's why the middle flash is so important. So you can use whatever terminology you want in your system, but you have to know what that backside wing is doing. As the trap happens, you have your sideline, you have your middle who needs to flash, and then you have your back man. So Baylor gets into a strong press, they match up on the sideline with their safety, and that's what makes this middle flash wide open, but he needs to come to the basketball. It's important to understand that not every team will set up exactly the same. Here, Iowa State is staring at the center of the court, but they're still in a diamond press. The ball gets thrown in, and they are in strong coverage, taking away the inbounder. That's what opens up the middle. The guard does a great job of getting it out, and the press gets broken right away. But understand that some teams will disguise their strong coverage. Tennessee makes it look like they're guarding the middle, but they're trying to bait this pass back to the inbounder, and Duke does a great job of recognizing it, getting it to the middle, and they're off and running. Now, most teams aren't going to let the ball go straight to the middle, as you've seen in the last few clips. Typically, off the trap, teams that are in strong coverage will try and take their safety and take away that middle flash, and that's why the sideline is so important. Now, Texas didn't have anybody occupying that spot, but luckily the ball handler dribbled out of the press and found a way to advance it across half court. But you're not always going to be in a situation where you can dribble out of the trap, so it's important to occupy those 3 spots, because when you do, it stretches these 2 defenders where they're not able to take away all 3 options, and it helps the ball handler who's being trapped to be able to see who's open in a stressful situation. And what you'll find is one person doing it wrong can mess up the entire press break. Nebraska here has 2 people that are playing the back position, and so this guard is able to guard both. If they throw it over the top, he can steal it. If they throw it to the inbounder, he can steal it. Now, they've done a good job of getting somebody to the sideline, and they have their man who's back, but they need to get somebody to flash to the middle because we don't want to make these long passes. They eventually get someone to flash to the middle, they reverse it, get the ball up the court, and the press is broken. So in review, when it comes to strong coverage, when the ball gets thrown in, SMB. We want to get somebody to the sideline, we want to get somebody to flash to the middle, and we need somebody back behind the coverage in case they're not completely denying it. Now, when it comes to weak coverage, that means that the backside wing is going to take away the middle. So the 2 spots that will be open against weak will either be the sideline pass or throwing it back. In most cases, the safety's going to take away the sideline even though they don't here, and you'll be forced to throw the ball back, and that's what this next clip is going to demonstrate. So VCU runs weak coverage and they allow the ball to go back to the inbounder, and then they're going to trap a second time. You have your back man, you have your sideline, and you have your middle, and most of the time the defense is going to shift with sideline and middle, and you'll be forced to throw it back, and by that time you should be able to advance it across half court. The goal of the strong press is to turn you over. The goal of the weak press is to make you reverse the ball at least once. So they get the reversal, they're coming for another trap, and this is where you have to make sure you have your back man, and you need to flash middle and get someone to the sideline. Because Arkansas doesn't get to those spots spots, Arkansas is forced to have to break out of the press off a dribble, and you don't want to have to rely on that. In general, you never want to dribble it if there's an option to pass. Here, the defense is in weak coverage, so we need to get somebody to flash to the middle. Once the ball gets reversed to the inbounder or the back man, the ball should just get advanced right here on the pass because he's open, but by trying to dribble it, you allow a trap to happen, and we don't want to do that. Another thing we need to avoid is catching the ball in what I like to refer to as the coffin corner. The further you catch this ball in the corner, the higher likelihood of you turning the basketball over. And the reason why is because the defense will use the sideline and the baseline as another defender. Notice how when this guard catches it in the coffin corner, there is no space for him to pass it back out to the back man. There's barely even room for him to pivot or to escape dribble, so he ends up trying to get it out of his hands, and it almost results in a turnover. But later in that same game, they do a better job of catching it outside of coffin corner, and this is going to give so much more room and space for them to throw it back to the inbounder. And then once he catches it, he just looks up ahead without dribbling it first. He sees that there's a man wide open to advance it to, and they break the press easy. So anytime that you see a diamond press, you have to remember these three keys. SMB, recognize whether it's strong or weak coverage, and always prioritize advancing the ball with a pass before a dribble. You're also going to want to watch the press videos on run and jump and 3/4 court presses as well. Thanks for coming through. We'll see you next time in the film room.